Welcome, everybody, to the Independent Mind Podcast. We are your hosts. I am DJ Mixxwell, and as always, I got my boy, Jovanni. How you doing?
Hey, doing all right. We'll go deeper into that a little bit later. Flip the question around over to you. How are you doing, man?
Oh, man. Just doing good. Just steady grinding. Trying to stay motivated in this heat. We're currently experiencing a fucking heat wave in Vegas right now, and it's already kicking my ass.
Yeah, it definitely ramped up like extremely quick. It felt like just like 2 weeks ago, it was pretty nice. You know, you could go out and just casually hang out, not being in the shade. Now, like just yesterday, I took my daughter out and holy shit, it's so hot, just burning.
Brutal, fucking brutal. I talked to Feach today, and his ass is getting kicked doing the outside labor.
Shout out to Dylan Feach, bro. Just out there grinding his heart out, dude.
Oh man, you can hear the heat stroke in him, in his voice when I was on the phone with him.
Oh man, I bet.
Yeah, so I'm outside, but people are grinding and making their moves out in this heat, so the grind can't stop.
Amen to that.
Oh man, where the fuck do we begin?
There's quite a lot going on, dude. I mean, between like all the Fauci emails being dropped, and then we have all like the UFO declassifications happening June 25th. I thought it was at the start of this month, but it seems like maybe there may be a holdup, or maybe I had the date wrong all along. June 25th seems to be the drop of the UFO files. So we shall see what the hell that contains. I'm honestly extremely excited about it. I don't think it's going to be anything groundbreaking. But it should pedal us on to the next release, whatever the hell it may be.
Yeah, and since this will be documented, June 25th, hurricane hit somewhere. We don't hear about the news.
That bird flu fucking begins to spread or something.
It's gonna be something. We're gonna have some sort of news to where it's gonna strategically go right over our heads. So you know how that goes.
Yeah.
But shit, well, since you already had mentioned it, let's start off with some emails.
Yeah, man. It's like, we briefly looked into it just before the cast. And like, I've been dipping my head out of the news wave for a bit. I feel like it's so easy to get sucked into it. And then you start like, at least for me, I've struggled to separate like frustration and like personal opinion and like negative emotion towards the whole thing. And I feel like it just sucks me into a whirlpool of like negativity, sets me in a wrong mindset. But from what I did see, we got a lot of sketchy stuff. There's a lot of sketchy things there. So
yeah, it's disappointing to say the least to someone that we should have some trust in, Mr. Fauci, fraud, whichever one you want to call him. Fuck, man, so disappointing. We got this guy lying in emails, basically trying to cover it all up, and I don't know what to think about it.
I mean, I don't
the emails kind of just speak for themselves at this point.
I feel like there's even like limited blame you can put on him specifically. I think, like someone in such a powerful position, right? Like is going to have advisors and people that he has obligations to and, accountability to. And I think like it was a quick little flash into what's really going on. If this guy knew for years now, like they've been experimenting on bats with the COVID-19 virus in this Wuhan lab. And then they know that weeks prior to China reporting their first case, they had employees get really sick all of a sudden that worked there.
3 of them.
Right. And, like for them to just flip this whole story and make it seem like, oh, the COVID came from what the hell did they say that was, like a meat market or something?
I've heard I've heard of meat market. I heard of a bat. I heard of
Yeah,
it just naturally
just to
happening.
spin it so much is like, I remember when this first came out, where like the conspiracy came out, like it could be from a lab because there's a fucking lab like right there next to ground zero.
It's a high grade lab too, like where they do a lot of testing and they have a lot of like viruses and diseases and all that stuff. So it's a very like top notch.
Yeah, like it's kind of obvious, like, and for them to like cover that up so much, and like it created this whole like stigma across the media. Like I think even at one point, like you couldn't even, like, I'm pretty sure you get censored or like fact checked or something if you posted something like that, like on Facebook or YouTube. And for now, for that to come full circle and like end up being the case, it's really, really sus, man. Like, kind of just makes you wonder, like, what are the powers in play, and like, what's the true direction here?
Yeah, like as you said too, I mean, limited blame. I mean, at the end of the day, he is just part of the puppets that's just getting pulled on a string. But there's blame to put on him too. I mean, it's not like he was just being 100% honest in these emails neither. And with the way that he was downplaying things and all that, it's just kind of weird. And it also just kind of makes you wonder, like, what the fuck goes on in these labs?
Yeah, I mean, the labs,
they got all these diseases, they got all this stuff that they're working on. And it's like, that's just a couple of things that like we can see or we know. Like, what else is going on? Like, what else is in there that it's like that they're doing, or experiments or trials and stuff like that? Like, what's all going on?
Right. Like in lot, like kind of just bouncing back to like the UFO topic, like in light of this whole thing, there was someone that was working on that on that UFO team, whatever the hell it was, task force. And he had a very interesting interview where he said something very, very like captivating. And I remember, hell, just 20 years ago, like as we were growing up, probably even prior to then, like I always had this idea, like, okay, the public has certain technologies, we have certain access to different resources technically, um and the government would be 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead. But this guy said something very, very interesting in this interview. He said like it's gone so much further than that, because I mean, if you think about like on a consumer level, in the last 20 years, what a giant leap we've had in technology and access to information. And you can just imagine like the things that we have access to are probably just the tip of the iceberg compared to what's really out there. And he was mentioning like, now like the US government is, 50, 100, 200 years ahead of the consumer as far as the technology that they have and the resources that they have at their disposal. And that's super interesting, man, because like there's a lot of shit that we have that's fucking mind blowing to us. But just imagine like what we'll have in 5-10 years. Like Neuralink in 10 years. But
yeah, which is
if the government's ahead, 50, 100 years, like what the hell do they already have? Like, or they're already like fiddling with at the top level. We won't know. Like,
and probably never will. That's the scary thing.
Well, we'll know way in the future, but probably not in our lifetimes. And that's super interesting, man. That's like, there's like this argument for like the UFO, the UFOs and everything being some sort of military technology, whether it be domestic or none. And before I heard that we may be that far ahead, as far as like, the deep government, like top secret things may be that far ahead. It seemed completely impossible to me. But like now, just over like the last 5-10 years, we've had this giant surge of drones come up, and we can see now like places like Japan are creating advertisements made out of drones that illuminate the sky, and like people can scan a QR code in the sky made from a fleet of drones to get like mobile advertisement that's flying in the goddamn air. Like it seems like we're not too far away.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a trip, man. It's all a trip. It just makes me sick to just think about like what's going on. It's like I remember even just seeing this picture, even of just like using all that technology of what we got now. It kind of just makes you wonder like how much you're even getting spied on. Like I remember seeing a picture, I think it was like on Facebook or it was somewhere, and it was so good. It was a picture taken from the sky, and you can just keep on zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, and you can see like people's like faces. You can see people as clear as day. So it even kind of just makes you wonder like what all are they even observing with what we got going on as well.
Are you talking about like Google Earth, like getting Google Earth and like zooming in all the way?
It's kind of sort of like it looked like a Google Earth image, but it was something that like was taken from like a super like top notch camera, like from the sky, like way from the sky.
Yeah.
And you can just keep on zooming
like a 360 drone.
Dude, and I mean you're like you could see a teardrop from someone's eye.
That's so wild if you think about like if that's out to the public, like what the hell could be out there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's so wonderful, man. Like I see like the fear, the potential like bad for it, but at the same time, I think like innately humans want to do good.
Yeah, and I mean that almost just falls in line too with like you obviously will have stuff that's like people will feel goes against privacy or stuff that could potentially go bad. But then like what you mentioned, like with Neuralink, it's some people are sketched out about it. And then for me, and I know you as well, we're excited about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I see people that are like super sketched. And then it's like, I'm like, well, do you have a sister that's blind? Because I'm looking at some technology that possibly in my lifetime, my sister's lifetime, that she can have vision again. Or even like anonymous, like driven cars. That's even another one, like where I would say even within 5 years or so, like she could potentially have a car that she's just hopping in, loading her baby up, her guide dog in, punching in the address like how she does when she orders a Lyft or an Uber or something, and off she goes, having her own car. Some people are worried about it to where, you get some people who take advantage. I've seen a video of this woman sleeping in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I think we've all seen those. Yeah.
But it's like,
Knocked.
There's good and bad that comes with everything. So it's like, I mean, I'm always excited when new technology drops. Just like I said, when there's good, there's obviously going to be stuff that's bad as well about it as well. But what can you do? I mean, it's really just life.
Yeah, it's a matter of like also playing like the numbers, like we like to highlight the negatives. Like our brains are hardwired to focus on the negative significantly more than the positive. So whenever we hear of something like self-driving cars, we hear about, the 1% of cases that happen.
Yeah.
The very rare bad things. But the overall of these self-driving cars, at least from what the study's been showing, is that they're way safer than any human. So you can just imagine when that goes wide scale, like every car is self-driving. Like I don't see how there'd be many accidents. It would be very
Yeah, no,
difficult.
I even think about it on the end of like it would be in its own way, it's bad, but think about just even on the spectrum end of like how many DUIs would get cut out from that.
Right. You know, I
It's
mean,
human nature if you have your own car that for a lot of people that you will go into your car, whether if you have a beer or two or fuck if you've been drinking all night. So even just on the positive end of like, well, shit, that could potentially
that would save a
save
lot of
people,
lives.
could save a lot of lives. Obviously, it works out for a person who may be catching a DUI, but on the flip end of that, you got people whose family members can be saved. A lot of, there could be a lot of families who don't have to mourn for a loss when there shouldn't be.
Right. Imagine looking like, 20 years from now, like looking back like shit, dude. Do you remember the day when car accidents were a thing? How fucking reckless were we as a species? Like, holy hell. Like
Like,
now
what
we
the
have
fuck
these
took so
self-driving
long?
cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's honestly insane, man. And then like kind of just going back to Neuralink, like I've spoken to a lot of different people, damn near any single function that you find me at. And like, if we're getting into some like techie, futuristic, bullshit, mumble jumble, just usual fucking guy talk,
Yeah.
somehow Neuralink comes into the talk. Maybe it's because of my idolization of Elon Musk and thinking that man's like
Yes.
the MVP of the human race right now.
Einstein of our generation.
And kind of just going off of that, anytime Neuralink comes up, there's two people in the room. No matter how many people are there, there's two. The people that are extremely skeptical about it and the others are very excited about it. I understand the hell out of the people that are skeptical about it. We've seen a lot of iRobot growing up. We've seen a lot of like chaos and, a lot of fear on this intrusive technology. Cause I mean, this is it's so damn intrusive, bro. Like I don't think you can get any more intrusive than this. You're getting a whole drone into your skull, and it's going to be a microchip connected to your brain, and it's going to be able to read your brain waves and manipulate them. And that alone, dude, sounds terrifying. But it's also one of those things like once you look past the bad, you let your mind stop focusing on the bad. You see the positives, and for me, bro, it's brain dead. Like it's so much better to have this technology than to not have it. The amount of growth we'll have as humans
Yeah.
with this thing. Just imagine like 30 years in the line when it's widely adapted or something. Like what the human race looks like then.
Yeah, a lot more smarter people. And I think even just on the things that like it's meant to help with, a lot of
Medical
people.
was the first release. Is that what you're going on?
Yeah, basically, yeah,
Yeah.
like stuff like that, like can help people who are blind, people who are paralyzed, um, all Alzheimer's, stuff like that. I
My
feel
cousin
people.
has seizures. He won't have them anymore. Like
Yeah.
he just won't, it won't be a thing.
So I feel like for people who, not all of them, of course, but a lot of people who are skeptical, I think they don't really realize until something or someone that they know or love has something wrong with them that it can be fixed, they kind of just overlook that because it hasn't happened to them yet or it doesn't affect their lives yet. But it's like, for me, I'm just like, shit. I think about my sister, I think about other people who are paralyzed or other people like that, where I'm like, fuck yeah, give people a second chance. Like, imagine you
It's
have
so
someone
crazy, dude. Like, what is that? Like,
imagine you have someone in a wheelchair where they think the rest of their life they're like that. They get the Neuralink and then boom, they're out here running. They're doing triathlons.
right.
They're going out surfing. They're going on hikes.
What a story.
It would just be so insane. And I think even just watching I know some people really get skeptical about this, but I just think like watching the video of the monkey play Pong using his mind, dude, that had me fucking geeked for what's to come with it.
Right. It's so crazy, man. Because like this is a whole nother avenue of it. Because if this is working on apes, right? Like primates, a very if we're able to install this technology into them, what's going to happen when this technology gets refined? And say like these apes can get given a voice, or we're able to communicate with them. You install a Neuralink into that ape, it learns how to play a game that we created, right? Like, what's that look like 5-10 years down the line? If Neuralink, once Neuralink's adapted enough to start like actually being used for communication, being used for, for information gathering, and
Yeah.
that's fucking insane. Like the potential of that. Like, what's the world gonna look like then? Or even as far as for medically, right? Like you look at what cancer is, right? And it's like you have a lot of these cancerous cells multiplying, and your white blood cells aren't able to be focused in on that area at quick enough rate. Could be complete bullshit. I'm not a doctor, like by any fucking means, but to my dumb understanding, that's what it is. Like, what if Neuralink's able to redirect these white blood cells to like the target area and focus it on that area and be able to fight it within? That could be the end of that. That's the beauty of it. It's like our brain controls everything, and if you have a remote control for your brain, you can just imagine all that can be done.
Yeah, and I don't know about some people, but I'm dying to talk to my dog.
Imagine. Oh my God.
Me and Nala have some good conversations that are waiting to be had.
Imagine, dude. Or just even like, yeah, just knowing what they want, right? Like being able to like read what they want, or even like the most basic communication.
Yeah.
So
like, imagine
wild.
like your dog, like when people like have trouble, like who have like a sick animal and stuff like that, and they just like they keep like my mom will do anything to make an animal survive longer. But what if you're like you got the Neuralink in your dog, and your dog is like, yo, cut the cord.
I'm done.
I'm fucking in pain, yo. I'm fucking in pain. But yeah, no, that shit's a trip.
That's off to the future, man. I'm excited as hell for it, and we'll see where the hell it takes us, man.
Yeah, definitely. Um, even on a crazy thing, speaking about like like cutting the cord. I saw something crazy. I think it was like in Hawaii or something. And it's a weird conversation to have, but it was an interesting read. But they basically like don't take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. They have this fucking like thing out there where you can basically sign off and you can go in. It's like a fucking like say like a sauna or whatever it is, and it fucking kills you. It's
Wait.
a fucking like it's an assisted suicide.
In Hawaii?
I believe it's in Hawaii.
I think I saw that in like Washington or Oregon or something. There's a state that does like an assisted suicide.
That's a trip.
I think there's a few of them that do
I
it.
saw that. Yeah, that sounds about right. It could have been one of those states. I don't know why Hawaii's on my mind. Maybe I just want to be there right now. But
maybe no.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it probably is, because I read this a few years ago. Maybe like they recently came up with a new way of doing it.
So let me get your take on this. What do you feel about that? Like, do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it saves, like, if you got someone who's willing to die and they don't want to be here anymore, do you think that's a better alternative than like the poor man who has to go clean up like brains, or a family that has to go find a man, like a family member, like hanging?
Dude, I think I think either or is such a shit situation. I'm probably gonna get some hate for this. I've always viewed suicide as a very selfish thing. At least in my head, like from a very early age, I've compared suicide to terrorism. Right? When
The interesting thing.
when a terrorist bomber walks into a mall, and blows himself up, right? Like the point of impact that's the worst is exactly where the bomb set off, which is obviously the death of the guy who hung himself or blew his brains out. But the bomb has a radius, and the further away you get, or the closer you are, the heavier the bomb will hit you. And I think suicide hits a very specific way. It's that your family are going to be the ones right next to the bomb. They're going to get impacted emotionally, extremely heavy from it. Their friends are going to get impacted from it because they're going to see you getting impacted. They're going to see the family member being impacted from it. I think it creates like this emotional ripple, an emotional bomb. So for me, like anytime I hear suicide, I just think of that. And to hear something like assisted, like an assisted suicide or something you sign it off, like I just feel like it would create a lot of problems, because what is like the requirement to go through with it, right? Is it just clocking in, sitting down, like talking to a doctor saying I want to off myself? It's like, okay, come back on this date, you sign a waiver and you're gone. Like,
I believe it had requirements for it.
Yeah, I feel like they'd have to be like very, very strict things, something like,
like if you got cancer, or like, you only got like a year, 2 years to live, or something like that.
Yeah, and in that case, I think if it's like medical, right, and like you're struggling really bad, and like, like it's you're kind of just gone, or you kind of just don't want to deal with the pain anymore. It's been years, and like, you still have years to go, and like just fuck it, But machines are keeping you alive, technology is keeping you alive. I think then is a good time to be able to like let go at your own free will. But I wouldn't even really call that suicide. But I guess it kind of would fall underneath the same category as suicide, right? I feel like as long as there's those sort of requirements, I'm fine with it. Otherwise, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I kind of go both ways on it. It's kind of like, I understand it a little bit because I dealt with, I've had my fair share of depression and kind of have gone through mental blocks myself. So I'm kind of like, I've never like have came close to killing myself for sure. But I think I empathize with the mindset. I know what it's like to be at complete rock bottom in my own life. So I empathize with the mindset, to where it's like, it's a fucking shit mindset to have, like to get to that point to where where someone actually does it. A lot of times it saddens me, because it's like, fuck, man, like I empathize, like I understand. But then you also have like, well, shit, not everything, like what's going bad in your life isn't always, it's not set in stone. There's always, seasons change and things like that. So it's like, once you can get past that mental block, then things for the most part should be looking good, as long as you're working to make it better. But then again, too, I kind of like, I get on the flip side of it, to where it's like, imagine this. Imagine like you're fucking depressed, this and that. And instead of having your spouse, a family member, a fucking, cases of what you hear with like a hotel maid coming into a room and finding the dead body or something like that. What if someone was like, brought their whole family together, told them what they were doing, and got everyone on the same page? And then it was basically like a live funeral. Instead of saving someone like the brains, the fucking, the gore of it, they're all like showing up to this assisted fucking suicide, and then basically watching a live funeral. And it's a fucking trip thing to think about. Like,
oh man,
that's a crazy, you see, like,
I don't know.
I fall more on the, that's just something
That
that like
sounds
I think
romantic.
out.
But
I'm not making it seem like that I agree with it on that end. I'm just kind of playing out the scenario in my head to where maybe it would make like if something like that was done, I feel like it would be better for loved ones who don't have to come find your body or anything that I mentioned.
even probably like just playing with the idea, probably the suicide rate would go down dramatically. Because I think in a lot of these cases where like you bring the family together, um, you'd probably get talked out of it.
I think so too. I think whatever you're going through, that's also the other flip side of it, to where if that was like a thing and you brought your family together and you wanted to kind of do it right, there's that good chance to where it's like you could maybe get that help. Or but then again too, once when you're in that mindset, you're not, it's a selfish thing from someone looking from the outside in. But when you're kind of going through it, it's kind of like you don't really weigh those,
I think that's
you
the
don't really
problem.
weigh that out of like, well, this is gonna fuck up other people. Or unless you're just like that piece of shit who just goes and kills some, like shoots people up and this and that, and they off themselves so they don't have to deal with the consequences. That's completely different thing. But
I think that's the
yes,
problem. I think mental health awareness is a serious thing. I think it's something that needs to not be a taboo. As far as
yeah,
like
I agree.
suicide, I think a lot of the approaches we take in, like, sure, they save a lot of people, but also for a lot of people they just don't work. Um, I think it'll be very impactful having maybe another point of view on it. The way Okay, so at the start of this podcast, like you asked me how I'm doing, I said I'll get back to it. We'll get back to it right now. This is the time. The last couple, I would say just like the last maybe week, maybe a little bit more, I felt myself getting a bit numb. It's the way I kind of visualize in my head. It's like lack of appetite, lack of attention, lack of memory, lack of motivation, drive, just day in, day out. Um, and it's like I call it numb because that's just the way I feel. My emotions seem to slip away. I become very stagnant. So to me, that like I visualize like myself like in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, frozen solid with no heater unit. Right? It's
Wow.
like
Okay.
it's winter. I You said seasons. Like I describe it as seasons in my head. I think we all go through emotional seasons, whether it be winter or summer, being the main polar opposites. Winter is when these is like now, like right now. I feel like I'm going through winter. I'm getting these things like I notice that it comes like a couple times a year, or maybe like I don't have like time down a damn calendar. Maybe I should. Maybe it's like a monthly thing that I just don't even notice. Maybe like a bi-yearly or something. Um, but I find myself like getting caught in these like thought conversations late at night, not getting any sleep, and everything starts to deteriorate. At the same time, there's the mask, which you put on, project to the world, make everyone not be aware. Because me personally, I don't like people knowing that shit. I'm
Yeah.
saying it out now because I think this could possibly help somebody. I view it as winter. I know what it is. I know that bad thoughts are going to come. I know that I'm going to get sad and have fucking lack of confidence, lack of self doubt. I know other people are going to respond negatively to my lack of action. And I know that a lot of things are going to start to crumble. But I think being aware of this is very important because this is winter. So rather than trying to go out and face the snowstorm, I'm inside creating a fire. I'm
Wow.
inside huddling up, waiting for the break in the snow to transition over to summer. Not by waiting for something from the outside to come in and end the season, but for myself to end the season. And for me, that's very, very important. And I found like earlier in life, depression hit hard and suicide was something that came through my head quite a bit. I was just a coward to do it. I would never do it because I don't even know why. I never had this mindset that I do now. Um, And like now it's the same emotions, but I view it in this way, and it gives me hope. It lets me know that the season will change, and it lets me know that I will be back here again. Like winter will come back at a later date.
Yeah.
But knowing that it's a cycle, knowing that it does come to an end, usually allows it to end quicker. So there was a time where, dude, it was like winter for like 2 years. Like I had no clue what the fuck was going on. My whole life was slipping away. I barely remember it. Nothing eventful happened. Just a lot of internal conversation. And this is where, towards the end of that 2 years, where I figured out this winter and summer analogy, and you'll hear me use it a lot. Um, but yeah, man, I think having something that you can latch onto, something that has you keep looking towards the future, is
Yeah, I think
the only way to go forward. 'Cause it's completely natural.
that's very like elegantly put on what you just said. Very deep, and it explains a lot of things on for myself too, like hearing you talk about it. But just never kind of thought about it like that, which kind of makes me like rethink about some of my past or things like that. Maybe it's a mindset that I will even more so now take into my own life. Because you are completely right. Everything does happen when you look at it like that. It is just a season. And the fact that you're able to look at it like so, and when you know that it's happening, you're like, okay, this is what's going on. And I love the way on how you like explain of like making a fire, kind of like, it's kind of, it's in your own way. It's like, it's self-care,
Right.
instead of trying to just push everything and this and that and just keep on thinking why it's like that. It's like, okay, hold on, let me backtrack a little bit. Let me think about it. This is what's going on. I'm getting affected from this. I'm getting affected from that. And I think that can really help some people. I think that could help a lot of people.
I hope so, man.
Like what we said is the mental health is a very like taboo thing to get talked about. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. And I think that's more so just a lot in particular with men. The men are always known as the alpha, the dominant one.
No emotions, don't cry.
Shouldn't cry.
Yeah.
And even more so too on your end, to where it's like you got a fucking family to take care of.
Right.
So it's like you got your spouse, you got your kids. There's a lot more where you don't want it to be seen as daddy's crying or daddy's weak or anything like that. But having that mindset, and I don't know if you talk about it with Neva or not, but I feel like that's a great way to put it.
Well, it's like, I used to think about being inside that cabin, and I think a lot of the reactions, a lot of what keeps people in winter, keeps people trapped, is they keep on trying to leave that cabin. And the snowstorm keeps kicking up, bud. Like it's not gonna go away. Like every time you go out and leave, like that shit's still there. And like that can be, translated over to like, you keep going out and trying in the world, but the world's kicking your ass, right? Or like everything that you do ends up going bad, which sinks you deeper into the depression. So I think like, whenever this time happens, like you need to go inside, go internally, fix something within, let it like happen. Like don't fight it. Like know that's a natural thing and just observe it. And before you know it, bro, birds will be humming and it's summer. And when it's summer, all that time that you spent analyzing, all that time that you spent, absorb, like just fighting this cold. Now it's fucking hot, dude. You're ready to go out and explode. And that's when you go out and you plant seeds and you just, go out far, travel out far, take on new experiences, make new moves, but know that just like the seasons, winter is coming.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
I think even for my own self that for the longest time, I would go out of my cabin and instead of just staying in and building that fire, like you say, I was using alcohol as a way to try to go outside of that cabin in the snow.
As a way to numb the cold
and keep my blood, try to keep the blood warm, not get it cold.
Yeah.
And that did a lot of damage. That did a lot more damage.
A lot of hyperthermia.
Yeah. And if it would have just been staying in that cabin and just building the fire, and maybe not using alcohol. And I know people will hate me saying this too, but even weed, if I wasn't trying to numb everything, then the mindset could have been better. You go out in that cold, you're fucking snapping at people, this and that. It's just a bad thing. So I think that's so beautifully said.
It's the balance of life, man. Like we inhale, we exhale. Sometimes like I think often we're trying to exhale, especially in our youth. We feel like we have to be constantly exploding, and constantly progressing. And like if we're not, we kick ourselves even deeper into winter. And I think it's okay to realize that we have time. It's okay to slow down, analyze, because that almost like springs your jump. Like
and I feel forward. Like that even brings it to the point of where, as much as it's grind, the second most important thing that's almost as equally important is rest.
Right.
Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Maybe as you've been grinding, maybe you weren't feeding your body the proper nutrition. Maybe you need to try to eat a little bit healthier. Maybe you just need some rest, whether if it's a few days, if it's a week, or if it's 2 weeks. Depending on what you're going on, take a month. I feel like it's been so drilled to where it's like, if you're trying to grind, you can't sleep. You got to keep on going, keep on pushing through. And I think that's a negative fucking thing.
Well, it's like if you exhale nonstop, you're going to fucking explode.
Yeah.
You have to inhale, right? And it's like the same thing. Like you're exhaling summer, you're inhaling that's winter. You're going inside, you're going internalized. At the end of every Mario level, there's a loading screen. There's a break. At the end of each lap, like you take a break. Like, life is set up and downs, and you need to be able to ride that roller coaster. You need to be able to let yourself go as high as possible. And when you're on that incline, push it. That's when you fucking grind your ass off. You don't sleep then. That's when that's when you're full forcing it. But no, when that decline comes, let that shit happen. Yeah. Let it happen, or you'll keep sinking in deeper and deeper and deeper, and everything will actually crumble around you.
Yeah, because trying to go
you'll
on
crash.
That full
you'll fucking crash and burn.
Going on that full, when you're on that decline and you're still trying to go without the sleep and you're trying to keep on going hard, a lot of times you're just not even making the proper moves.
Yeah, you're making shit moves. You're not as efficient. Like
decision making is down. Your efficiency is down, but you're like, oh, well, I got to keep on going. It's like, well, if you actually just take a break and let yourself fucking get through that season, you'll realize that doing your body a favor, your mental a favor, that you'll make way more moves once you get back into that incline. You'll make way more moves. Absolutely. That decision making is on point. Your communication is on point. Your mindset is just totally there. Instead of just being on that decline, you're kind of like I gotta go through the motions. And sometimes you do have to do that. You do got to go through some motions.
Yeah, you automate. Right.
but it's also just having that fine balance. And that comes with a lot of self-awareness too. Like, and by no means are we trying to say that we're the perfect people and we got it figured out. It's just a matter, just trying to continuously practicing in a sense of what's being preached, and trying to, this is, an experience like what you said and stuff like that, and experiences of what I mentioned. It's all a matter of like, hey, this is what we go through and maybe this will help you. But the fundamentals of all that, I feel like are pretty much set in stone. Like,
Absolutely, man.
you can't go through that decline and fucking think that you're gonna make all these fucking power moves. You're really not.
Right. I was actually listening to some Jordan Peterson, a few days ago, and he was telling this story about how he's a clinical psychologist, and he had a client once that was a lawyer, and like this lawyer was working his ass off, took no vacations year round, just kept full sending. And Jordan came up with this idea. He's like, okay, for 1 month of the year, I believe, or like maybe it was like 1 month every like 4 months or something, you will not work, take complete vacation, right? You completely stop work. And he found that over a year to year comparison, the year in which he took a month off, or that he took the long-term vacation, let himself in hell, he found that he was doing much better in those years, not just emotionally, right, and mentally, but even financially. So it's completely contradicting to where like you'd think like, you grind nonstop to climb to the top. No. If you give yourself those ample breaks, you come back way ready, like way more efficient.
Yeah,
Come
that
back
makes
ready
sense.
to go.
I mean, it's kind of, I think I might have been listening to Gary Vee or something, and he talks about how August is the month for a lot of big CEOs, is a month that they take off.
Right.
August is almost like a full month.
Right.
Going through vacations, going through all that. You're kind of getting through a little bit more than half of the year, and then you just strive through. And then basically a lot of things shut down around Christmas time and all that. You get your few weeks or whatever the case may be, maybe the full month again. But even some of the most successful people are doing that.
Yeah.
They're taking their month break. They're taking whatever type of break they need, because it's fucking necessary. You can't just go full 12 months and think that you're going to just be on point. Like what you said, those seasons come. Like, it's really just a matter of just having that self-awareness. And it kind of just falls in line too. Like, I've even been noticing more on myself, to where now, I mean, we mentioned it in episode 2, I think it was, of like me being sober and all that. And I've been getting on, with a positive person in my life now that I'm seeing. It comes with having a change of diet. Like, my diet has been changing, cutting out soda, drinking smoothies every morning, healthier snacks that I'm eating. And that shit helps, man. That shit fucking helps.
For sure, dude. You're fucking just booming right now, bro. You're like full on deep summer, bro. Just like
deep summer. I'm summertime right now.
Yeah, straight sun tanning, bro. And that that's a beautiful thing.
Sunburnt right now.
Probably from stepping out for like 5 minutes, man, with how fucking hot it is.
That too.
Yeah. No, dude, but that's awesome. Like, that's literally like, it's just beautiful. Like, that even goes back to what I said now, like being aware that like right now you're in that stage, that explosive stage.
Yeah.
That exhale, like fucking run with it, make as much of it as possible, dude. Just get it going. And like, like, And that's why I have been seeing your social media is blowing up with this new mystery girl, which is not too much of a mystery to me, but I'm not sure if it's official online yet. But
It's not
I
official.
very much look forward to like meeting her one day. Hopefully we'll get the honors too soon. You
Definitely
know,
soon.
it's awesome. Like you mentioned, like in episode 2, like it's been years, since you actually been in a relationship that you've taken seriously after a really bad relationship in high school.
Yeah.
So just to kind of see you like overcome that hurdle, it's like
Yeah, it just adds
so
on to the
awesome.
it is fucking
Yeah,
awesome. It makes me feel good too. And it just adds on to the positive people that I continuously have in my life, like my friends, my family, especially, all my friends are fucking they're all positive people. So it's like the fact that I can add on to that with a positive person in my life, just makes it that much more better. Fucking it adds that feel to the flame of someone who sparked up the interest, in me to fucking change up my diet. And it's like I thought I was already full speed ahead going hard in my summer. Little did I know I was just in spring. I'm now entering summer with fucking like, the whole change of diet is just adding so much more energy. It's changing the mindset. My skinny ass was fucking finally putting on some weight, but I started to
I
notice
saw
like,
that.
okay, shit,
Yeah.
I'm getting a little gut in here. And then, just having someone that can help change the diet and having just that extra positive person to where we work out together, just fucking, even relaxing the mind, on just having quiet time together, laying on the hammocks, no conversation being said, just fucking quiet time on the hammock, nice and chill, so it adds on to it to always just make sure that you got the positive people in your life, no matter whatever end it comes, that definitely helps fuel the fire. Because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day too, like what we said with Twix in our last episode 6, 7, whichever episode we're on now, we mentioned about who you have around you is kind of like you are who you hang out with. So it kind of just falls in line, even with that conversation that was being said, because if you're hanging around people who are depressed or constantly just sad about fucking something, it's like you're going to be sad about fucking something. You don't even know what you'll be sad about. You're just fucking just sad. And it's like just having, just falls in line to have that awareness to when you are going through those winters, the summers, and just reassure yourself that you got positive people around you. It all makes a difference.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so like happy about this whole thing that you have going on.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just it all, long time coming. Part of it too is I made the change for myself to get fucking clean. It's created a whole better mindset for myself. So yeah, I just keep on putting out more positive in the world, and not saying that I don't get some negative, but the more I put out on the positive end, it just seems to keep on coming back at me tenfold. So hey, I'm fucking here for it.
There you go.
Yeah. I think that will wrap up this episode. Good chatting as always, good hanging. Absolutely love the mindset and the fucking your conversation about the seasons. I feel like that's really useful. It's already impacted me. Hopefully it does it to the next person. So
That's the hope, man. Like anytime, like, like almost damn near daily, if you're out enough, you'll notice people going through slumps if you really pay attention. And I think it's very important to like reach out to them in a way that is unique, in a way that visualizes, because a lot of the treatment that we currently have, as far as like vocal treatment, it's a lot of copy and paste. It's very generic. Everyone's always heard it. Everyone's heard it. It's like anytime you bring a new perspective to someone, it captivates, it excites, and it internalizes a bit better. So how that metaphor helped anybody, I'm glad. If maybe you share with somebody and it helps somebody, like hell yeah, that's huge. But
yeah,
regardless,
so,
I know it helped me, so hopefully it did for somebody else.
Yep, exactly. So we'll end it on that note. Be healthy, be happy, treat yourself, know when your seasons are, and fucking handle that.
Yep.
We are your host. I am DJ Mixxwell. That's Jovanni. As always, stay hungry, stay focused. We'll see you guys next Friday. Peace.
Peace.